Lost Art with Andrew Cox, retired Master Gunnery Sergeant. thelostart.podbean.com. Get some merchandise and help support the podcast in getting our veteran voices out for all to hear. Now on all major podcast platforms. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Be a guest, tell your veteran story, discuss your veteran business or organization. Email The Lost Art with Andrew Cox at gmail.com. Andrew Cox, a Till Valhalla Project Ambassador. See the project story at tillvalhallaproject.com. Thanks for tuning in. Please enjoy the podcast that's giving a voice to our veterans. The Lost Art with Andrew Cox.
Today's episode is brought to you by TrumpShirt.com. TrumpShirt.com is a veteran-owned business where 100% of the proceeds goes to disabled veterans and veteran organizations. Support your veterans by purchasing a shirt at TrumpShirt.com. Use the promo code TLA and get free shipping. That's TrumpShirt.com, promo code TLA.
Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Lost Art Podcast, that podcast giving a voice to our veterans. On today's episode, we're going to have a fireside chat with the crew and special guest, Isrea Butler. But before we get into that, take a look, go check out the Till Valhalla Project. Go see what they got going on. They're doing fantastic things, and they're giving these honor plaques to our fallen heroes. But take the time, go check them out, and see if there's any way you can help them in their mission. And don't forget to go to our website, thelostart.podbean.com. Go check that out. There's a merchandise tab. You can click on that merchandise tab and go get you some cool gear, kind of like this shirt that I got on right here. But go in there, get some gear, help support us and getting our veteran voices out for all to hear. To all the listeners, thanks for tuning in. I'm glad that you're here, and we're going to have a wonderful episode for you. So with that, we're going to go ahead and go round robin. Krista, we'll start with you. How you doing, Krista?
Good. Had a good weekend. Got a lot done. Honeydew stuff, I'm the honey, I guess. Just getting stuff done around the house, taking care of things. So it's a good weekend.
Very nice.
Hot
Very
and
nice.
humid. Beaufort,
Yeah.
Paris Island. You know how it is, right?
That's how you roll. You love the heat down there, apparently. I don't know. All right, Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Just waiting to see what little bit we get out of this storm that's coming up through. Tropical storm or hurricane or whatever it's going to be. Unfortunately, Aaron's going to get a good dose of it down there and where he's at in Florida. But
Yeah,
other
he's
than that,
down
I'm
there
good.
probably getting pounded on.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Had a good afternoon. A good weekend. My daughter came down from Knoxville Friday and spent the weekend and drove back today, and she left her two pups with us because
Nice.
next Saturday we leave to go on a cruise. So she's like, well, it was just easier to bring the dogs down now, and that way they're here for the week. And I was like, yeah. And of course, I'm not used to her one dog's bathroom schedule, because they're dogs that get taken out and walked. I'm used to opening the back door and I got a gated backyard and go to the bathroom, go run around there. Okay, come back in. And I've got one of those robots that runs around and cleans the floor. It's on a schedule every day.
Yeah.
And I call it Victor. No offense to you, Vic, but it just sounds like a good butler name. That's just what I named it on the app, is Victor. But
what a sucker! What a sucker!
But anyways, it was running, and then I was in the house, and I left. I ran up to like Dollar General real quick, came back, and I'm still running. And my boss called me. Of course, he always calls me on a weekend just because he's driving or something. And all of a sudden, I hear it go. It backed into the dock, and it's like, ding, 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 ding. It was done. And I called my daughter to say, I said, hey, did you get home? And she goes, yeah, I stopped at the store on the way. That way I didn't have to go back out. And I was letting the dogs out the back door at that time. I looked down on the floor, and I'm like, what the hell is that? Well, her one dog decided to take a doo-doo on the floor.
Poo.
And Victor decided to clean the floor with it and run all over the living room. It was all up inside of it. I was like,
oh,
it's like, your dog. She goes, Yeah, she's on a schedule, because now our three dogs and then her two, so there's five dogs, and they go outside and it's playtime, and it's not go to the bathroom
Oh
time.
my
So
God.
yeah, I spent about an hour and a half tearing a Victor the robot apart, cleaning all the dog doo doo out of it. So yeah, that was my Sunday afternoon. So
Wow. That
Victor
was
was
way
not happy.
more
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. That's way more than I did today. Wow. That's
Well,
pretty
good for
impressive.
you. Good for you that you didn't
Speaking
have
of
to do
Victor,
that.
Victor, how you doing?
I'm good. Apparently, it's the word on the street. I'm full of shit. But
Yeah, that makes
let's
sense.
see.
Yeah.
We had the wife's cousins came in from Georgia, and we had a nice cookout yesterday, and put some brats on the grill, and all kinds of good stuff, and just caught up and just had some good family time. It was nice. Today's cigar is another Crowned Head cigar. This is the Las Calaveras, and I've never smoked one before, so I'm interested in it. It is Nicaraguan wrapper, binder, and filler. And the website says it is at once robust, complex, yet balanced. So that's all it says. So more to follow.
Awesome. That's the new one for me. I haven't heard well balanced in any of your cigar briefs yet.
Because
That's
I don't
pretty
know if I know
good.
what that means. Maybe when I smoke the cigar, I'll find out.
Yeah, You're gonna figure it out real quick. I guarantee that.
Well, I don't think any of us know what it means when you say it's creamy in this. I'm like, what the hell is he talking about?
That is true. I've never had a cigar that was creamy. That's for sure. I don't know.
You know what? Chief Friend used to say that all the time during search rehearsal. What does it mean? Hey, trumpets, I need more pop. Stop. What does that mean? So maybe I'll try to be a little bit more I don't know, direct in my explanations. We'll see. Probably not though. Don't ask for much.
All right. Sounds good. Sounds good. All right. We have our special guest with us today, Isrea Butler, Dr. Isrea Butler. He is probably the most famous person I've had on the podcast yet, so I'm pretty excited. He is a doctor. He went to Eastman School of Music, got his bachelor, master's, and then Rutgers University for his doctorate. He also is teaching. He's the director of bands. Is that right? Am I saying that right? Director of bands at Los.
Director of School of
Say it
Music.
again.
I'm the director.
Okay, the director. Go ahead. You got it. Say it.
I was a director of the School of Music at University of Nevada, Las Vegas.
There it is. There it is. See, I have a hard time sometimes getting it out. But with that said, Isrea not only is he a doctor and he's an instructor there, School of Music in Nevada, but he was a Marine, is a Marine. Sorry, he is a Marine. Served a little bit while ago, and he also is in Army Reserve currently. And he does that. He teaches and he's playing his own music. He's got a new album that just came out recently, as well as he plays with the Count Basie Orchestra. So with that, Isrea, welcome, man. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm good. I didn't have as exciting as a day as Mike, but I did find
No,
some
that's a good
old
thing. That's a good thing.
found some old dog in the artificial grass last night. Made my daughter go cut,
Oh,
but yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Do this weekend. Yes, I guess yesterday was kind of was busier, but I think I took a short nap in my recliner today. But
Oh,
I'm usually not
well,
home
that
on the
makes for a good day.
yeah. This is probably my first weekend home in a while. So I think I
And
was out. I
you've
think
been
I was
out
out the
playing
road.
though, right? Performing.
Yeah, I had a June and July were busy. I think July I had a short tour with Basie, and then I had I did half of my annual training, and then another tour of the BASI, and then I had the Texas Bandmasters Association with my brass quintet, the Gateways Brass Collective. We were
Mm-hmm.
kind of one of the headlining groups for performing there, and that was fun. San Antonio. Haven't been back since the First Marine Division reunion was there on the Riverwalk in, I must say,
Oh yeah.
96, 97.
Wow. Okay. So a couple minutes ago then. Yeah. So
Few.
let's for the listeners, can you kind of walk us through when you joined the Marine Corps and kind of talk us through where you were at, what you did, and then kind of eventually how you went to wherever college, and then how you got in the reserves as well.
Yeah, so I joined the Marines in 95. Master Guns Farquhar was my MTA. He came to my high school and uh, auditioned me, and that was in 95. So the I loved the School of Music. You're getting paid to practice, and then that was probably
Yeah.
one of the best parts. Um, didn't say I loved Paris Island, but I did go back to visit when I was on recruiter's assistance, and I found my old senior drill instructor, and he was shocked. He was like, "Oh, you're corporal already?"
Very nice.
Um, so yeah, I was stationed at Camp Pendleton, and I was gigging in San Diego, and I was getting lessons with Ed Harris, and he was like, you should just come here because we got a guy that wants to be, closer to Los Angeles where he's from, uh, Justin Garcia, and so I swapped with him. Then I was in the San Diego band. Um, I went to University of Arizona for a year in Tucson, and then I transferred to Eastman and did 2 degrees there. Um, kind of during the summers, I worked on cruise ships. So that's kind
Mm.
of playing trombone in the show band on cruise ships. That's kind of trained me for being a freelance musician because you kind of play all different types of stuff. Um, then after I graduated with my master's from Eastman, I moved to New York City and started playing on Broadway and with different big bands, orchestras, like all different types of groups and recording. And then I started went back to school for my doctorate in 2009, and I was kind of doing both. And in the meantime, I joined the Army Reserve Band because as soon as I got there, I was like, well, I need some good health care and you know some this would be extra income. And then from the very start, I had all these conflicts, like where I had to run into the show The Lion King, still half dressed in my class A's from playing at SUNY Old Westbury, like way out in Long Island. Like I missed first part of the show,
Wow.
or they would drop me off. Like the band would be coming back and from somewhere, and they dropped me off in the middle of New York City and in ACUs and all my stuff. And got to I was playing Promises, Promises with Kirsten Chenoweth and Sean Hayes. And I got to the theater and realized I didn't have any black shoes. So I had to walk around in my boots and go buy some black shoes from somewhere.
Wow. Well,
Yeah, so
that's a little bit
it's
of a
kind of
rough
a
time,
balance.
man. Trying to do both of those, right?
Well, I was trying to, yeah, I had to do that. And I was playing funerals, um, doing funeral honors, and then driving to Rutgers. So it was pretty
Wow.
crazy. Sometimes I show up, to orchestra rehearsal in uniform, um, because it was tight.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty wild. And then after that, you started performing with different organizations or different bands around the U.S. or how does that work for you? Because you're freelance.
Yeah, so I started and I graduated in 2012 and I started teaching at Jackson State University in Mississippi. And I tried to transfer into the guard band right there in Jackson, but it's almost impossible to do a transfer between guard and reserves. Like an interstate
Really?
transfer, yeah, they give you a hard time. Interstate transfers between a guard unit is a lot easier, and so is reserves to reserves. So I ended up
Hmm.
having to drive from Jackson to Birmingham, where there was a reserve band like 3 hours away. Um,
And
and
in
then
the
I
reserve band, how often are you driving that 3 hours? How often do you guys get together?
well, reserve bands are that you're committed to once a month. You know, the 2 days, and then the 2 week annual training. But in the band, there's always gigs, so you end up going back and forth a lot. Um,
Wow.
the current band I'm in now has more missions than a lot of active duty bands. It's
No
insane.
kidding.
Yeah, it's insane. Um, Sometimes it's too much. But people live close enough to do it, then they get to
Yeah.
make some good money. So after
Wow.
after Mississippi, I went to North Dakota, and I was the director of jazz and low brass at a Benedictine Catholic school, University of Mary, and it was run by by priests and nuns, and um,
Wow.
they were really nice people. You know, the the university president was the Monsignor, and he was pretty young. He was just maybe like a year or so older than me, and really nice guy. And all the people there were nice, but it got to negative 50 degrees one day. So I said, I need to find a job somewhere else. Um, so I found a job as director of bands at the University of Maryland, Eastern Shore, and I was there for about 4 years, and then I got hired to be the department chair at North Carolina Central in Durham, North Carolina.
Mhm.
I was there for another 4 years, and then was trying to get closer to mom, and I got offered a job in Valdosta, Georgia, which is right on the border of Florida. Um, there for a couple of years, and then the University of Nevada, Las Vegas opportunity came up, and it was kind of random. I'd already been to Vegas recently playing with Count Basie, and
Mhm.
before this job came up. So
Wow.
yeah,
So you just jumped at it. That's good.
yeah. So every time I would move, I would try to move to be in a guard or reserve band somewhat close. Um, until now. Now I actually fly to drill. But before I was,
No
always driving.
kidding.
So drill is in Concord, right outside of
Mm.
Charlotte.
Wow.
Yeah.
So at least once a month you're flying down there.
But yeah,
Yeah.
usually more than once a month because you have drill, and then if you have a gig.
Mm.
And well, AT was at Fort Eustis, Virginia.
Yeah.
Was That was nice.
Wow. So what were some of the things like your military experiences that you've had? How did that help you in one, your teaching, instructing those types of duties, and then also just playing in different ensembles that you played with?
Well, it helps as administrator because um, you see all types of leaders,
Hmm.
and I had
True
some really good
statement.
ones. Um, Top Harris was grooming me to be a drum major, so he taught me get a Franklin planner and you be scheduled and detailed. You got to have your mechanical pencil, and he was a really good mentor. And then learn a lot about conducting when I was in there, watching Top Trebbie and Chief Grimes for rehearsing internal stingers. And
Ad nauseum.
PTSD from that. Guys were
Yeah, it sounds right.
After the break, guys were lighting up like 2 cigarettes at a time.
Yeah, you're throwing out some names here, Israel, that's bringing me back a ways. It's like, good God, holy crap!
Hope I don't
I'm the same
trigger
way, and you say it, it's like, instantly I
trigger
start.
anybody. Yeah, when you look at these Zoom boxes, you got your one and all the time. Or Major DeVoe.
Oh man.
Yeah, so and you learn how to deal with different people, in the military. Some are very different. And that's the biggest thing about teaching, learning how to teach people that have different backgrounds or learn different ways, and also how to resolve conflict. Because as an administrator, that's what the biggest thing I do, because everybody has some kind of conflict. Either they want money or they want me to resolve a conflict that they have.
Right.
So musically, playing all the different groups. I mean, show band, combo, a little bit of big band, marching, all that stuff, goes into being a versatile musician. And being in San Diego helped because I got to play in lots of different types of groups.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice. So I noticed, I was looking at your website earlier today, but Grammy award winning, correct me if I'm wrong on that, but with the Count Basie Orchestra, is that correct?
That is February. We won a Grammy
It
for
is.
the best large jazz ensemble for Basie Swings the Blues. So that was pretty. I wasn't really expecting it. So people really liked the
Now,
album.
was that something like they got you all together to present that type of thing, or is it just it comes in the mail type of thing? How does that work?
Oh, no, the band leader, we were actually on the road. We were in Louisville getting ready to play a gig, and the band leader went to accept the award. So
Okay.
it's like him and a couple of the singers that were on the album, maybe the producer. Yeah, then they only give you one Grammy. So he brought it to a gig and we all took pictures with it. But when that many people, they don't give you actual statue. So I think
Right.
some people
But
bought their
still,
own. Some people
that's
bought
pretty
their own
awesome.
and had
Oh,
them
really?
engraved off of Pinterest or something.
Very nice. Very nice. And then just recently, I think it was June time frame, you released your album. Is that correct?
Yep, Congo Lament. It's
That's
on
right. Which, by the
streaming.
way, is fantastic album.
Thank you. It's streaming, and I think it's on YouTube and Spotify, and um, you can buy it off of CD Baby. No, Boot Camp. Bandcamp. I'm sorry. I think I can post it
Okay.
here in the chat.
Post the link. Is that what you're talking about?
I can post the link here.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions or anything for Isra? Anybody there? Yeah. Yeah. No. You're looking at me like all crazy. It's all good.
So no, I was going to ask you. You probably said it Israel, and I just didn't hear it. Where are you from originally?
I'm from Sanford, Florida,
Oh, okay, gotcha.
and yeah, I lived there until I joined the Marine Corps.
Now, when you came back to the schoolhouse, because that's where I met you in Virginia Beach when you came back, and you were there for the intermediate course, is that right? For the Army?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
see it.
uh,
How was that course for
the
you
advanced leader
overall?
course they call it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You said how was it?
Yeah. How was the course? Yeah. It's a good pause. I asked the question
Hmm.
just because you obviously are well educated individual, right? I think that the schoolhouses are geared for those that maybe aren't as educated as you, right?
Yeah.
So guys like me went to high school, and that's about it. I think that's a good place for them to go and learn some stuff. But probably on your end, from your perspective, maybe not. You might have been there teaching more than you were listening or learning.
Well, they give me a hard time about this presentation, and like, I'm like, you realize I teach people how to do this, right? Or the one guy was like, "Oh yeah, I want to be in your band." I'm like, "Okay," but he gave me a hard time about my we had to do an entertainment concepts presentation. The what do they call it? The Tom Jackson book and all this
Mm-hmm.
stuff, and you have to do a presentation. So we were supposed to take a music video and break it apart and talk about the different things. So I did a live version of Sledgehammer, and the guy chewed me out. He's like, that's really has lots of sexual innuendo, and that's really offensive. And I'm like, it's from the 80s, and like, nobody in there was offended. Uh,
uh, yeah,
um, so yeah, it's just like something that a hoop you have to jump through. I mean, there are definitely people there that who benefited from it, because like
hmm
there's people, you have all types in the reserves in the guard. Um, there was a trumpet player there that had his doctorate from North Texas. And there was another trombone player that had been in the Marine Corps, um, that was getting his doctorate from University of Maryland. Um, you had some people that were like band directors, and some people had jobs that had nothing to do with music. So it's kind of a hodgepodge.
right. And
It
that
would be nice. It
that
would be
was
nice if
mainly
they could,
reserves.
yeah, reserves
Was
and
it
guard.
mainly reserves? Yeah. Oh, okay.
Uh, it was both. I don't remember the exact breakdown. There was a good number of both throughout.
Right.
It would be nice if you could test out of something like that instead of being there all that time. But yeah,
And that's how long for you guys? Was it 3 weeks,
three
4 weeks,
weeks,
three
3 weeks.
weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah, very nice. Now, talk me a little bit about your album, if you don't mind. Just kind of talk through where you came up with it. What's the deal with your album? Talk us through that.
So I've been wanting to record an album for a long, long time, and finally got into a situation where the school has a studio, and they have great recording engineers, and just kind of everything kind of came together. I was on the road in Europe with Basie, and I was talking to the lead tenor player, Doug Lawrence, and trying to come up with ideas for the album. And he said you should do the music of Ike Quebec. It's Ike Quebec and Benny Green. And we started listening to that, and that's basically what we ended up doing. We took two separate albums and picked tunes from those. Um, and he flew in from Albuquerque. We had a quick rehearsal, and then we played for the jazz repertoire class, all the jazz students. It's a pretty big jazz program here. They've won 50 downbeats over the years and lots of
Oh, wow.
awards. The students go on to do to get work on the strip, work with famous musicians, touring, and also go on to even bigger schools for grad school. But yeah, we ran through like most of the tunes, and then we played them for the students, and then that evening we recorded them, the album. So it was pretty quick.
Yeah, no
The
kidding. And that's
longest part was the longest part was putting the liner notes and everything, all the credits and all the stuff together, and coming up with the name of the album and the artwork. And I think that was the most time intensive part of the project.
wow. I really like that you guys came together in basically one day, uh, rehearsed everything, and then went in and boom, just knocked it out. How many takes would you say were you doing, or was it just one and done type of deal?
We did two to three takes of most tunes, but most of the tracks on the CD are first takes.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, we didn't do
Wow.
any. I don't think we did anything more than three takes. I think one. I think we did a short and a long version of CC Rider, I think. But yeah, it was like, I mean, the guys on the album are serious pros, so
Right.
nobody nobody was making mistakes. It was like, yeah,
They
because
do what
piano,
professionals do. They show up ready to go.
yeah, yeah, the piano player is Dave Loeb. He's the director of jazz here, and he was the piano player for Family Guy, going all the way back to Magnum PI, and like all these
Wow.
Pocahontas, all these movies, and the Hollywood Bowl. So he's a monster. Steve Flora is the house bass player at the Wynn Hotel, and he's played all over, played with everyone. And then Bob Kamel, who we just recently lost. He was 80 when he recorded this, but he was Frank Sinatra Jr.'s drummer. Um,
Wow.
played in the Glenn Miller Orchestra. Um, did all the Rat Pack stuff here, and he was just a monster.
Wow. That is pretty awesome. Just to be around somebody like that, that's pretty good.
Yeah, monster drummer. Great guy. Yeah. So and then Doug
Yeah.
is he's the lead tenor with the Count Basie Orchestra. So he played with, every time I see him, he's telling me about more people that he's played with that I can't, like, I'm just in disbelief. The
Wow.
like jazz history walking.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. So do you play there in Vegas, like on the strip as well? Do you ever sub
Yeah,
in or anything like that there?
yeah. It's been an interesting process to come to a new town and try to break in. Um, Luckily, I met one of the busiest guys, well, two of the busiest guys. One is a UNLV alumni, and he was in Elvis's band.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He doesn't look like it, but he was in Elvis's band in the late 70s. And I kind of met with him and said, I just want to play a little bit. So he's been getting me busy. And then the other busiest guy teaches for me. So he's playing Mrs. Doubtfire on tour. All the Broadway shows that come to town, he plays. But I got a last minute
Wow.
call to sub with Lady Gaga back in the fall, and then this time I played the whole run that she had her residency.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's really amazing and really sweet. She went out of her way
How,
to show us that she appreciated the musicians.
yeah, absolutely. How often did you play? Was it a nightly thing or
Yeah,
how was
it
that for
was
you?
8 shows spread out over 3 weeks.
Got it.
And then
Wow.
I got a last minute call to play Barry Manilow's show.
He's
That was
still
fun.
alive?
What?
He's killing it.
Wow.
He's killing it.
That's
Yeah.
the first concert I ever went to when I was 15 years old was Barry Manilow.
Oh
He played,
wow. Yeah, Mandy.
That's crazy.
Have you ever
Yeah.
played with a lady named Cy Smith? She plays with Chris Bodie. You ever heard of her?
Oh,
Cy Smith. She's an awesome singer. So
I
wonderful woman.
recognize the name.
Cy Smith, awesome singer. Just wondered if you'd heard of her. She's a great gal.
I'm gonna check her out.
Yeah, check her out. You might love her stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so
So,
look, a little bit of playing here. There's a couple big bands in town. So
very nice. Well, it sounds like you're extremely busy, and I'm thankful that you finally were able to work it out and have you on the podcast here.
sorry it took
It's
so
been
long.
pretty good, at least so far. Oh, that's okay. You're a busy man. You're a busy man, and I'm flexible. Whenever, So, yeah. But thanks for coming on. Does anybody have any other questions before we kind of start moving through the podcast here?
Yeah,
I
I
was
got a
just
couple actually. Go ahead, Mike.
no. Go.
First of all, sorry to back up a little bit. What's your rank and what's your billet within the reserve band?
I'm a staff sergeant, and let's say call that. Well, I was basically the MPT leader, so a small musical performance team leader.
Okay. And um, anybody that is wants to be like a gigging musician. So people that are trying to make it as gigging musicians. Between like you have to spread yourself, keep a couple different things going at once, like a private studio, you're director of school of music, all kinds of stuff, and you have gigs on the side. What do you tell people that may be looking to do what you're doing, because they're all out there, they're all over the place? What would be your number one thing to as far as advice goes to people that are trying to make it as gigging musicians?
You got to be flexible. I mean, you have to be able to play literally any type of music um, at a high level. And if you haven't studied and been able to hear and adapt to any type of musical situation, you won't be able to do that. So it's kind of like being a musical chameleon. Um, there's a lot more advice than one thing, I would say, because it's a lot.
Last
Um,
question.
yeah.
How do you juggle or balance your administrative responsibilities to the university against practices and rehearsals?
Yeah. That's the hardest part. And a lot of people ask that question. Um, just work constantly. Um, I've been on the bus driving to like Luxembourg, and I'm on a Zoom call back in the States because it's like 5 p.m. back on the East Coast or something. And and then everybody gets off and goes to dinner, and I go up to my room for my second Zoom meeting. Um,
Wow.
and it's 10 o'clock, and I've been on the bus for 10 hours. And yeah, it's
Wow.
very difficult. I have to it's almost like having ADD. You have to keep switching between all these different things. Because like today I was sending out these letters for external reviewers, and then I was practicing for a little bit, and then I was, checking on this email situations. So it's constantly like putting on different hats all the time. And I can't really say there is a balance because it's not like a 50-50. Um, and it's challenging because when I go out on the road, the guys in the band, most of them had just played a Broadway show the night before, or some jazz gig or something where they're playing like heavy like all the time. And then I'm mostly at my desk, during the day. Um, this semester will be different because I'll be teaching some trombone students, but I don't get to play until I get home. And then so when everybody goes to sleep, then I'm playing my scales and trying to, fundamentals and working on solos and whatever. We're working on recital coming up. So yeah, it's difficult to do that. I don't think I would recommend
It,
it. You have to know how to live in chaos in order to do all of that.
I would definitely say that your experience in the military with the chaos aspect of it probably helps out a little. But you touched on something that I kind of want to hit on is the dedication to the actual craft of playing. And you said it like every day you're hitting it, even though when you really don't have time during the day and your family falls asleep, you're out there practicing, you're getting ready for the next show or just keeping your chops going and stuff. The dedication that you have to the craft is amazing, even though you're working probably two full-time jobs if you think about all the stuff that you're doing. But it's amazing to me the amount of effort that you're putting into it.
Yeah, I enjoy practicing, but I also I think I have a fear of sounding bad because some I know guys that they just play like they play when they're doing a rehearsal or a gig, but they don't really practice. Um, I was on vacation and I just got back and I didn't have my horn or something. I can't imagine. I think I might have done that once. Um, but yeah, it's kind of fear of sounding bad, and also I enjoy practicing. It's like the I figure if you have to do it, you might as well enjoy it.
Very true. Yeah, can't go wrong there. Vic, did you have anything else?
No, I mean we can if we're gonna go through some stuff. I got a lot to talk about.
Okay, very well. Mike, you got anything?
No, I was just going to say it's obvious that you love what you do, Israel. So I mean, and you may not think it or you may not say it, but I have a feeling you're a workaholic.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yes.
mean, it's just what you are and it's who you are. I mean, it takes certain people to be that way and special people, whether you feel that way or not. But I mean, not everybody can do what you can do. So, it's amazing to me just to listen to you. And then, hell, you were talking about the school of music, and I was like, well, he's got the same response I had to the school of music, but mine was completely different than yours, I promise you. But you knew way more than any of those people there, where I was like, I don't know what the hell you want. I have no idea. But
Yeah. Well, the first time was definitely different than the second time
you know,
because I was 18 the first time and I just wanted to learn everything. I went to all the different brass instructors, Mitch Martin. I was always hanging out with him and David Anderson. He taught me
Yeah,
how to spit shine like really well.
That's a lost art. Spit shot in shoes.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, who else? There's Sergeant Lindbergh. Lindbergh was
Lindbergh.
You said he was Army?
Marine Corps. Lindbergh and Bruce Patterson.
Yeah.
He's a Army warrant officer now, band officer.
Kidding.
And,
Wow.
yeah. But yeah, I was tried to learn everything I could from those people. And yeah, the freelancing thing is you have to have your eyes on a lot of fires. And most people don't just, if you want to just go, "Oh, I'm gonna just go play jazz," well, you're not gonna make a lot of money probably. Like the
Yeah,
best jazz
unless you
player.
got the name to go behind it. Yeah.
Yeah, the best jazz players in town, New York are like, playing Broadway shows.
Very true. Yeah.
Because I mean, it used to kind of be like a thing that those guys looked down upon, because there were so many recording sessions and so many great gigs and bands that playing that nobody wanted to do that, and now that's like the top job because it pays the most and it's the most regular.
Right.
So I would go into a pit and here's the guy from the Rolling Stones is playing next to me, or the guy from Steely Dan's band, like these like famous, like really famous people, musicians, or
Wow.
Natalie Cole's lead trumpet player.
That is amazing.
Yeah, but that was the surreal
Yeah.
part about York. I was sat next to my heroes, people I literally grew up listening to, and then now you're sitting next to them, playing music with them.
How did you handle that stressor when you first started doing that and you're playing with these guys that were your heroes growing up and you're right next to them? What did that feel like? Like how did you overcome that?
I don't know. Probably was nervous enough about playing the show good that I wasn't thinking about, this guy next to me. I did
Makes
remember
sense.
I walked into I was on my way to play the show and I was sick. Like I think I had strep throat, but I didn't, if I could help it, didn't turn down, work because I had to pay my rent. And the guy I was subbing for is like, yeah, Mike Davis is going to be playing, but you're playing lead. So I'm like, okay, so I'm playing lead to the trombone player from Rolling Stones and the Yellow Jackets and all this stuff that I literally grew up listening to. Like my teacher in high school made me a mixtape of this guy's recordings. And I get there and he's warming up. He's famous because he has this company called Hip Bone Music, and he's for years he has this warm up books that has the recording with it. So it's him playing all these exercises, and I played those out of that book in college. So I get to the pit, and he's playing. I'm listening to the real thing, and playing his warm up. I'm just like,
No
So it
pressure.
wasn't BS. He was true to
No
himself.
pressure.
Yeah.
no, he really warms up like that, and
Brilliance in the
sounded
basics.
like amazing. And we had
Wow.
this we had the same teacher because he went to Eastman too. So it's not like I didn't do that type of stuff, religiously as a warm up, um I had to play lead also. So that was I had to play lead, and it was the lead player from the Vanguard Jazz Orchestra. He played lead there for like 40 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Seems like kind of a make or break situation.
well, yeah, yeah. I mean, you always want to play good because you never know who's listening. You never know who's going to show up. You never know who's in the audience.
Yeah, never know when that next
Well,
gig is going to pop up.
that's
Yeah,
one thing that someone said to me years and years ago is, music is a thing that we all hear. You turn on a radio or you buy, favorite bands or whatever genre you love listening to. But in reality, it's such a small community.
it is.
Just like, in the military, you're naming people, and it's like, holy crap, yeah. And I can see Krista, she recognizes name, and Vic does, and Andrew does. But I would think even in a professional music industry, it's still a small community.
Very small.
But it's who it's your name, your reputation. It's like you were saying, hey, you're playing next to these people, and now they know you now.
Yeah.
And that's got to be an amazing feeling. It's got, dude, did you ever, now I'm going to add another chapter to your career or your busy schedule. You need to write a damn book, dude. Do you
I would agree
imagine?
with
I
that.
mean, just listening to you right now, it's like, good Lord, I wish we had more time to just, to hear where you've been, what you've done, who you played with, and, just stories or Lady Gaga, or, you know what I'm saying? It's just amazing to think the experiences that you have had. That's, somebody said that to me a while back too. He said, everybody's got a book in them. Well, hell, you definitely have a book. You
Well,
probably have more than one.
yeah. Well, I tell this story when my brass quintet is around students, kids, because a lot of times we play at schools from K-12 to college. Um, when I started music, my mom made me take piano lessons. I said made because she wanted to play piano, but and I didn't really like to practice at first for a while. And while I was doing that, my mom taught at the same elementary school I went to, and the music teacher told her that I wouldn't be good in music.
Oh,
No kidding.
Yeah, that many years later, I was at Eastman, and we were at the International Trombone Festival, and I met that music teacher's son. He's a trombone professor at a school in the Midwest. I won't be specific. And he saw me, and I was there because we had won the big competition. And I was like, "Is your mom so and so?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Please tell her I said hello." Then, then fast forward years later, he called me up and asked about doing a recital at my school. So I never told him what his mom said, but when I got to middle school, I was in choir, and that was okay, but I wanted to be in the band. So I went to the band director after school, and I'm like, "There's a mistake. I'm supposed to be in the band." I put down band, um, and he's like, "Okay, you look like a low brass player. Here's a baritone." And and I switched to trombone because I could put the trombone on my handlebars and ride back and forth to school. I had to walk with
uh,
this baritone. That's the kind of funny reason why I actually ended up with trombone, because I think there was a trombone player to switch to tuba. So then there was
mhm.
a trombone. But I was second to last chair um, in eighth grade, and there was the kid. It's funny, the kid that was last year, he ended up going to the Marine Corps, but not for music. But he used to try to, do the chair challenge,
Mhm.
and I'm like, he talked a lot of trash, so it also makes sense why he went in. But I think I jacked him up one time in the back, and I'm like, I'm not going to be last chair. But there was a substitute English teacher, Mr. Morris. They gave me a mixtape, and it was all the greatest hits, big band greatest hits. It was Cab Calloway, Duke Ellington, Count Basie, Glenn Miller, and Artie Shaw. And I listened,
Nice.
listened, listened. And when I got to ninth grade, I was third out of 10. and I didn't really have any trombone lessons. I went to my neighbor who was a saxophone player, but I didn't really have any trombone lessons until I got to high school.
Wow.
I tell the story. I played or recorded with every band that was on that mixtape that teacher gave me. And I could have listened to people who told me that I had a guy that was in a big orchestra. He came in as a guest teacher, and he told me that I wouldn't make it as a trombone player. I had I had one of the trombone players from the West Point band said, "Oh yeah, you don't want to move to New York." And another big time person's like, "Oh yeah, New York is really hard. You don't want to move there. That's going to be too hard of a scene to break into." But I didn't listen to any of them. And within 6 months of moving to New York, I was subbing on Broadway. And I
Wow.
didn't. I just never gave up.
Put that
I had
story in your book.
I had EBLs tell me, "Don't go take that President's Own audition. You're not good enough, or you're not, whatever." Um, they even gave me a 2.899 audition, so I couldn't get promoted, even though I was the band soloist every week, and I was taking lessons from the guys in the LA Philharmonic, all the studio guys. I was, everybody else was kind of doing recreation. I was working.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, you were supposed to
Yeah,
be playing St. James Infirmary with Cab Calloway Band. That's what you're supposed to be doing. I love that. Love Cab
that's what I
Calloway.
that's what I do now. I'm the lead trombone player for that band. That's my feature, and he tells that story
I
in the
love
concert
that.
about how I listened to that. So I tell that story to kids to motivate them, because there's no limit except the one they put on themselves.
That you put on yourself.
Yeah.
Love it.
that's the sad thing, and is unfortunately I don't know what the other like Army bands, Navy bands. I don't know, but that's and Andrew tells me that a lot of things change, leadership change, a lot of things, but unfortunately that was my experience. I didn't get to retire. I did just shy of 17 years in the band field in the Marine Corps, but uh, that was always my experience in the Marine Corps in the band field. What you're talking about right now, and I never understood why it was like that. But I mean, yeah, I mean, you saying things like that is just like, yeah, yeah, everything he's saying, I experienced. I don't
Yeah.
claim I was some virtuoso or I was perfect, but I practiced and I busted my tail to be as good as I could be.
Mhm.
But there was never any extra. When you went and asked for help, it was like, well, you're supposed to be a professional. It's like, well, if I was a professional, I wouldn't be here asking you. But second of all, even if I wasn't a professional, it doesn't mean that I still can't seek out guidance or seek out, hey, man, you're doing this and I can't do that. I mean, how the hell do you do that? And that was one of my biggest things I always saw in the band field in the Marine Corps. I'm not talking bad about the Marine Corps and the band field by any means, but unfortunately, that was a lot of experience. I think, and we lost a lot of good musicians out of the band field because of that.
Yeah. There were some younger guys that helped me out. I guess it's kind of different whichever band you're at, because at Pendleton, they were kind of not everybody, but a lot of people were kind of like, they liked the fact that I was studying, that I was constantly practicing, that I was like pushing myself. And then I had a roommate that was a monster trumpet player, had been to college, and he showed me some stuff, and um, I don't know what he retired as. I think he retired as a gunny. Price, the tuba player, he taught me some really
Yeah.
good. He used to bite his lip all the time, and he, he has some colorful language for our intonation. So use our ears. but he gave me some really good breathing lessons, and there was several people that would be helpful. And then at San Diego, I had a horn player in my quintet, and they kind of pushed him out of the Marine Corps too. But he had been to Northwestern, and he had like a master's degree in horn and a monster player. And then they messed him up when he was going. The same guy that messed him up when he was going for a President's Own audition. He got to the finals, and he would have won, but this guy had him like working like nonstop the week before his audition.
Wow.
And then a great trumpet player, Master Guns, Yafet Jones,
Mm-hmm.
the big inspiration.
Yeah, who doesn't know Yoffit?
Yeah, I mean, he always had like this really clean Acura and with like a super Bose system.
Yeah,
We're always listening to John Williams and just he really got me into like listening to brass music. Big influence and role model. So yeah, and then I have people that were
I remember him
trying to get me to quit.
specifically. Sorry, I remember him specifically doing the Turner Roses parade. It's the first time I met him, and I was playing. I think I was playing snare, and he was right behind me, playing trumpet, and we were doing the rehearsal, and we stopped. I'm like, Gunny, you're killing me. Like I can't hear anything. He's like, well, you better figure it out. I was like, oh boy. It was rough, man. He was so loud. It was just blast in the back of my head.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt you a second ago.
No, yeah. Yeah, he's a beast.
well,
He's
when
still out
first
there
Marine
playing and
Division, we
performing
went
too, I think.
Mhm.
absolutely. When we first Marine Division went in 03 and 04, Yoffit was there, and Andrew went.
Mm-hmm.
Israel, he was always a monster. And I had met Yoffit when I was at the School of Music. He was a corporal. He'd been to Desert Storm and all that with the division. But, this will give the reason I'm saying all this, it'll give you something to chuckle about if you ever talk to Yoffit anymore. But, his call sign in Iraq was Grape Ape.
I think I heard that somewhere.
Yeah, that was his call sign, Grape Ape from the old cartoons, like Grape Ape.
That's funny.
Oh, but yeah, that's good stuff. Well, hey, Isra, thanks for coming on and doing this. I appreciate it. We're going to kind of go through these a little bit quicker than we normally would, but we usually go through and there's some topics that we hit and discuss. So we're going to do it, but we're going to do it a little quick. If you want to hang out with us and continue on, you're more than welcome to. If you have stuff to do, I know you're a busy man and you want to take off, you can take off. It's totally up to you. But we're gonna push on to some of these other things. So
Thanks.
if you want to hang on, we can hang on. All right, we'll go ahead and go over to military news with Nick.
Well, there's lots of things going on, and I'll just kind of hit the wave tops. I've been talking in the last couple of weeks about things are ramping up and getting interesting. Third Maw is doing flight deck qualifications on USS Tripoli. 1st Battalion, 2nd Marines is doing cold weather training in Norway. The U.S. is boosting presence in the Middle East. They sent a fighter jet squadron along with aircraft group carrier Abraham Lincoln to replace the Roosevelt. Let's see, because they're trying to help defend Israel from possible attacks from Iran. If you guys have been watching the news, Israel has claimed an attack on, I believe it's the Hamas leader in Beirut, Lebanon. And then somebody assassinated the Hezbollah leader in Tehran, Iran, but Israel hasn't accepted that yet. They haven't accepted responsibility for that yet. The Air Force is looking to re-equip 30 B-52s with nuclear capabilities. because about 10 years ago, Russia and the U.S. entered a treaty to remove that capability, and that was part of our treaty 10 years ago. But the Air Force is going, wait a minute, I think we need these back. So the presence, the posturing is starting to ramp up a little bit. And now the U.S. Embassy warns American citizens to leave Lebanon. All the European embassies are telling their civilian nationals to leave Lebanon because it's about to get dicey there. So there's definitely an uptick in tensions, if you will. But the one thing I just wanted to, I don't know if we have enough time for this. Our esteemed Secretary of Defense, with all of that happening, by the way, all of that happening, and that's just, I'm sure, tip of the iceberg of what's going on as far as ramping up posturing and efforts. Our Secretary of Defense has decided to put together a special review committee to re-review, I guess, 20 Medal of Honor recipients from the Battle of Wounded Knee Creek in 1890. 20 soldiers, Army soldiers, received the Medal of Honor from the Battle of Wounded Knee Creek in 1890. So I don't know if we're wasting effort, but we're putting together, we're taking people away from their time, from the regular jobs in the Department of Defense and the Department of Interior, because 2 people on the panel have to be from the Department of the Interior. Take them away from their job so they could be on this panel to review 20 Medal of Honor recipients from 134 years ago. And this panel has the option to take away those Medals of Honor if they don't feel that they were appropriate.
What in the world?
Yeah. So, but here's why. Basically, as populations were growing west, the Sioux tribe of Sioux Indians in Wounded Knee Creek, South Dakota, basically were trying to get back to a time where there's plentiful hunting and all this kind of stuff. So they were engaged in a ceremony called a ghost dance. So these ghost dances were going on nightly, weekly, and the locals were starting to get afraid that the Indians were going to start taking matters into their own hands, right? So they basically demanded that the Army come protect them. Well, the Army said, okay, we'll come and take away their weapons. That didn't go well. And after it was all said and done, 300 Indians and 25, to include women and children, and 25 soldiers were killed during this battle.
Wow.
So I can understand that, we don't want to oversaturate Medal of Honors because, then it lessens the importance of them, or the esteem of them, I guess. But why go back 134 years to do this? And are you, if you're going to take away these Medal of Honors, are you going to tell these people's great grandkids? I think a generation is 20 to 25 years, right? So if you go, we're 6 generations removed from that, at least 5 generations. Are we really going to tell these people's great grandkids or great grandkids that, hey, you need to give us that Medal of Honor back because your grandfather didn't, your great grandfather didn't deserve it? Why waste the time? And who cares at that point? Who had
the time to actually research that to begin with to bring it up?
But I'm wondering if it has something to do with the woke ideology of trying to cancel history. It's because it was a battle against Sioux Indians. And now we don't want to be offensive and say, we're trying to cancel what the Americans did to this Indian tribe, and just trying to is that a way of rewriting history now?
We'll make it better.
Yeah. We'll make it better by removing all these Medal of Honors because they didn't deserve them.
It's like taking down monuments and statues.
Yeah, exactly.
And all that crap. It's like
renaming schools and renaming bases.
I'm not saying that a lot of it wasn't bad, but And at the end of the day, that's a part of our history.
Exactly.
So instead of trying to erase it, then let's try to learn from it. It's like let's get rid of history, and that way nobody has to know it, and nobody is upset about it. Okay, well instead, hey, this was wrong. This is what we need to do. This is what we need to do so we don't repeat that again. And that's one of our biggest issues now is we're so afraid of our past that we're doomed to repeat it.
Right there. Yep.
Yeah. And that just goes to show that there are so many things that an individual or a group of people or whatever, everyone's screwed up. And hopefully over time, when you screw up, you learn from it. And and that's just kind of how you learn. You screw something up and you go, hey, you know what? That wasn't good. And once you start getting rid of that, and you're just going to keep repeating the same thing over and over and over, So I don't know.
Yeah, but if they could put together a panel and go reach back 134 years, 134 years, why is it relevant now? Why are they doing it now? And if they could do that to a group of soldiers 134 years ago, I mean, 134 years from now, are they going to tell my great great grandkids that I didn't rate my MSM? I mean, seriously, come on. Who cares?
Anything's possible.
And in my opinion, tie goes to the soldier or the recipient, the Medal of Honor recipient. Come on. You already awarded it to them 134 years ago. If you didn't like the decision, tough shit. Just revamp your criteria from this point forward.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I yield my time. That's all I got.
Very well, very well. We'll go ahead and move on. Good news story with Mike.
We have time, or Krista, do you have stuff?
Yeah, she has stuff.
You're on mute, Krista.
Well, I would yield my time to Krista if she had something important she wanted to say.
Very well. Very well. Then we're going to go to this week in military history with Krista.
When she unmutes.
Yeah, she'll figure it out. Don't worry.
We still don't know if Krista's going to.
Krista, you got to unmute.
I'm so sorry.
Right, there you go.
I have something short and long, but I will keep it short.
She slipped in another drink and we didn't see it. That's what's
no whiskey tonight. No whiskey. We're keeping it on the up and up. I got my Buc-ee's water here and a coffee. Okay, I'll just do the short redo or the short thing.
I'm just gonna do the short one.
You guys are funny. I'm a woman. I'm a girl. Come on, I gotta talk. Come on.
Can't make my mind up.
Yeah. And I appreciate Isrea. I really enjoyed it because my thing is that you get to do music. I mean, you get to play and you get to teach, and I think that those are two of the most. I mean, you get to do both, and I couldn't ask for more. So, and I really enjoy that you get to do Cab Calloway and Count Basie. I can't imagine doing it all. So, thank you for coming on. I really enjoyed it.
My pleasure.
All right. In 1753, George Washington becomes a master. Oh, and this is Today in History, which is August 4th. Okay. August 4th, Today in History. 1753, George Washington becomes a Master Mason. In 1777, retired British cavalry officer Philip Astley establishes the first circus. I had an opinion about that. In 1790, the U.S. Coast Guard founded a revenue cutter service. In 1821, the first edition of Saturday Evening Post publishes until 1969. I don't know how that's military history. Sorry, guys. In 1830, plans for the city of Chicago were laid out. 1862, the U.S. government collects its first income tax. I did my research on that one, and I want you to know that less than 100 years later, they do institute the Revenue Act of 1862. So we go December 16th, 1773 is when they dumped 342 chests of tea in Boston Harbor. So literally less than 100 years later, we're doing taxation without representation again, and we'll cover that another time. But that was my research off of my short list. So that was a little bit frustrating to know that that's where we are. Literally, less than 100 years later, we're doing our taxes. In 1864, land and naval action in New Brazos, Santiago, Texas takes place. In 1914, a couple things. Germany declares war on Belgium, and Belgium declares war on Germany, and the U.S. declares neutrality in World War I. In 1925, the U.S. Marines leave Nicaragua after a 13-year occupation. In 1941, Winston Churchill departs on the Prince of Wales, which is the ship, to the U.S. In 1942, we have quite a bit of action going on. The first train with Jews departs Mechelin, Belgium, to Auschwitz. Colonel Jen Jeremenko arrives in Stalingrad, welcomed by Nikita Khrushchev. And German occupier orders all Dutch homing pigeons killed. Interesting. German occupier orders all Dutch homing pigeons killed. Okay.
Interesting.
In 1943, the U.S. Air Force bombs Germans in Troina. And this is sad. In 1944, Anne Frank is arrested in Amsterdam by the Nazis. In 1944, the British 8th Army reaches the suburbs of Florence, Italy. We could have totally passed on this one in U.S. history. In 1955, Eisenhower authorizes $46 million for the construction of the CIA headquarters. We could have totally have foregone that one, right? In 1960, a rocket-propelled U.S. Army Air Force research aircraft sets a record speed of 2,150 miles per hour. This is a tough one. In 1962, Nelson Mandela is captured by the South African police. 1964, North Vietnamese torpedoes U.S. ships off the Gulf of Tonkin. Okay, now this is interesting. Okay, so that's 1964. 1967, U.S. performs a nuclear test at Nevada Test Air Site. And also in 1967, USSR performs a nuclear test at Eastern Kazakh Semi-Palestinic USSR. All right, this is supposed to be military history, right? 1970, Jim Morrison is arrested for drunkenness. Now, Jim Morrison, okay, a musician supposedly as he were. I did a little research on him. His dad was a rear admiral in the Navy, okay, from 1941 to 1975. He was instrumental in the Vietnam War, and he was actually commander of the U.S. Naval Forces. His name was George Stephen Morrison, and he was a flag officer. He was the first. He was like I don't know. He got his first star when he was 47 years old. That's what it was. He was 47 when he got his first star in the Navy. And he was actually the commander of U.S. Naval Forces during the Gulf of Tonkin. So you can imagine how Jim became how he became, right? Little renegade there. So thought that was interesting that those two took place in the same time frame. 1979, USSR performs a nuclear test in eastern Kazakhstan as well. In 1981, Oliver North is assigned to duty at the White House. And in 1983, France performs a nuclear test. So that is today in history on August 4th.
Very nice. There's some good ones in there and not so good ones in there. So talking about not repeating history, right?
Yeah. Really tough ones. So we'll cover taxes
all right,
another
Mike,
day.
Mike, you sure you don't want to jump on and tell your good news story?
We have time?
Hey, we got as much time as we need. There's no set limit, to be honest with you.
Well,
we're already
Israel
over
probably
our hour
has a
mark,
bedtime.
so it's all good.
Israel's got a bedtime, so but he is out there closer to the West Coast, so it's not quite as late for him as it is for us. But
that's true.
All right. Well, it's just a quick story, and it's not even with the United States. It's in Hungary. In 2013, on Lake Tisa in southern Hungary, there was that whole community, county, or whatever they call it there, or the state. They created a competition because of pollution in the lake, and it's like a national lake. But there was so much plastic and trash in the lake that they created it as a competition. So it is literally, they call them pet pirates. But each year they go out and they make a competition to see who can collect the most plastic and the most trash out of the lake in the surrounding area. And since then, literally, there's teams, and it's turned into an annual competition where there's hundreds of teams set up, and they make these little makeshift barges or boats, and they go out and just pick up plastic bottles, trash, more so plastic trash, 6-pack holder, the ring holders and stuff like that. But right. This year in July, the articles from July 16th. The pet pirates removed 7 tons of plastic trash from this lake.
7 tons?
7 tons.
Holy cow. You sure they didn't make that lake over a landfill at some point in time?
Well, that's what I'm wondering. It's actually a man-made lake, but that's one thing they said. It is a man-made lake, but it's the largest man-made lake or lake in the country of Hungary.
Wow.
But this year, they removed 20,000 pounds or 7 tons of trash from it. And they literally it's like, kayaks and makeshift barges, like they had half a pontoon and made it into something. It's literally like a bunch of pirates, and looking at the pictures, but they're all coming into shore, and they have facilities set up, and they've got these big like mesh bags, and they're just unloading them, and they've got chains of people on the side just unloading all of this trash, plastic bottles to be recycled.
Wow,
and it's
them.
actually,
awesome.
Like they said, it's reminiscent. They said the flotillas are reminiscent of the Mad Max and Road Warrior films. And it's literally how these people are literally dressed up. It's like, they look like good old boys. It's like they're just out there, and it's a competition, but they take that much pride in that area. And that was what the article said, that these people are like, why wouldn't we do this? This is our lake. This is our land. This is our area. Why would we not want to? And they don't get anything out of it, just the notoriety of saying, hey, we collected the most, till we hold the title this year. So why don't we do that in this country?
Lake, they get a clean, that's what they
but
get.
Why don't we do stuff like that in this country?
I think it's a good idea. Maybe we should put one together, do a competition, have like for veterans or something, and do it in a certain area, lake or something like that.
Yeah. I just thought it was a really neat story. I don't, I don't buy into some of the things as far as the environment, but I do believe that we're our own worst enemies as human beings.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. We all do it, and I'm guilty of it. Instead of just filling up a glass every time I want to get a drink, what do? I walk my butt out the refrigerator and get a bottle of water.
Yeah.
Why not? And I know this area, Isrea, you said you were in Valdosta. I live in Leesburg, Georgia, Southwest Georgia, just by Albany. There's no recycling in this area. They don't recycle. It's like, why? No, that's in. I've even gone to the county and the city. It's like, why don't we do this? And we're like, well, do you want your taxes higher? We can do it. Literally. What's that, Isrea?
They didn't recycle in Valdosta either, and I had a recycle bin, and I saw them take the trash and throw it in, and take the recycling and throw it in the same truck.
Yeah, exact same place. But I know here, like. Beer cans or Coke cans and stuff like that. I'll rinse them out, and I just have a plastic bag in the garage on a thing, and I'll throw them in there. But I'll take them to the county animal shelter because they've got a recycling center set up, and they use recycling money towards
Mm.
pet food. And like the fire department, one of the fire departments has a collection thing set up. You can take it there and donate. But the county itself does not have. Why not? Why don't we do that? It's crazy to me. I mean,
I think it's a good thing. I think you should put that together, Mike. Come up with a way that we can do that, and maybe somehow we can raise money for a nonprofit of some sort, and donate some of the proceeds or something to that.
yeah, it
We
could
got
be
to
the
come up with
lost art
something.
of recycling.
Yeah, yeah, because it's definitely a lost art.
That and all that aluminum you threw out from your canopy,
You
your
know what?
awning, probably that could have been recycled too,
You
and you just threw it in the dumpster. I had to do it
that's
because I knew Vic and Krista were thinking it. So
wow. Well, I think it's time to move on, and we're going to go to words of wisdom. So, Isra, on words of wisdom, you're going to have to join in on this. So, we go round robin again, and each person gives us words of wisdom, something that they've thought about, worked on, whatever. But I'll let you go last, Isra, so you can kind of see how it goes, and then you got to give us something good at the end. How's that sound? That good? All right. We'll start with Vic. Vic, go ahead.
Well, I picked out three tonight, and I was going to pick one based on our guest. So this is the one that meant the most, and I think kind of stood out given our guest tonight. The tragedy in life doesn't lie in not reaching your goal. The tragedy lies in not having a goal to reach.
Ooh, that's pretty good. That's good. I like it. Wow. Man, Vic was studying up. That's
Yeah.
pretty good. So you give us a quick review of your cigar.
You know, it's a solid meh. I would say it was complex because it did have a lot of flavors, but it was too robust for me. It's too peppery and spicy for me, and I got a little bit of a nicotine buzz, so I'm like, kind of right now. My nicotine buzzes, I don't get like lightheaded. I get an upset stomach when I get a nicotine buzz. So didn't really care for this one that much. It wasn't bad, but meh.
And again, what did you come up with a good scale on your cigar thing? I
No,
mean,
I haven't
what
had
do
time to
we?
think about it yet. Just because
All right.
I've been so busy this summer. But I'll get one.
Yeah.
Get one.
Yeah, let's get that going. That way we can put it up, on the different things. That'll be good. All right, Mike. Krista ran off. Vic scared her with his studying, so Krista ran off. But go ahead, Mike.
yeah, I don't know that I have a good inspirational quote to be honest with you. I mean,
Uh,
the only one that
all right.
comes to
Well, I
mind,
mean,
honestly, the only one that really comes to mind, and we probably all heard it, that life sucks and it's even harder when you're stupid. So
a good John Wayne
yeah,
quote right there. That's
wasn't that a
good.
good John Wayne quote? Yeah, that was. Life's hard, but
Good
it's even
old
harder
John
when you're
Wayne.
stupid. Yeah. So
Yeah, yeah. He's one of my heroes, John Wayne. Yeah. All right, Krista.
Quote, so I'll read the little bit that I had about on December 16, 1773, at Griffin's Wharf in Boston, Massachusetts, American colonists, frustrated and angry at Britain for imposing taxation without representation, dumped 342 chests of tea imported by the British East India Company into the harbor. The event was the first major act of defiance to British rule over the colonists. It showed Great Britain that Americans would not tolerate taxation and tyranny sitting down, and rallied American patriots across the 13 colonies to fight for independence. There you go. That's all I have to say. That's any kind of saying. So the point is, we're not supposed to be taxed without representation. That's all I have to say about that. So,
All right, that's good.
party.
All right.
I have nothing good
Now,
tonight. I'm so sorry.
Now to Dr. Isrea Butler.
Man without vision shall not prosper.
Oh, that's good too. Yeah. And look at us go tonight, man. We're doing good. Well, hey guys, thanks for coming on. Isra, seriously, thank you for coming on. It's been fantastic hearing about all your experiences and your story. Absolutely wonderful. Truly appreciate it. But to all the listeners out there, if you're struggling, you need some help, anything like that, don't forget the VA does have some great resources. You can always dial 988, press option 1. You can always text 838-255, or you can go to veteranscrisisline.net and click on that chat icon. Any of those options are going to be able to put you in contact with somebody that can help you out. But one veteran life lost is one too many. I care about you. The crew cares about you. Israel cares about you. The whole veteran community cares about you. So please reach out for help. And if you're out there, you're not struggling, you're doing well, reach out to your buddies that you had when you were in the military and just ask them how they're doing and try to help them if they need it. All right, with that, one last time, thank you all. To the listeners out there, stay motivated, change your socks.